Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today is my home Grand Prix. We're in Montreal here for the Canadian Grand Prix, where we are finally bringing some big upgrades to our Williams there, with all sorts of departments, chassis, aero, the engine, everything's kind of being upgraded on coming off of our, success in the last episode, picking up some points in that last episode, of course, in Monaco, and what was a wild Monaco Grand Prix. In this weekend, Esteban Ocon announced he would not be returning next season to Alpine. His future is to be determined, but what is confirmed, Ocon out of Alpine at the season's end here. Now, as we come through into this Canadian Grand Prix weekend, I apologize as well for no career mode now for like 6 days. That was I had some things going on, and as well I've been working on some behind the scenes stuff of kind of getting some different series going here on the channel. Of course, there's been kind of a lot of maybe unknowns or kind of confusion since the ending of the F1 24 career mode, but I've been kind of messing around with some things, and yeah, long story short, we have kind of got an idea of where things are going to go now. So you're going to start to see that come out over the course of this next week or so. So stay tuned on that. You're not just going to be seeing pretty well only F1 career mode. There's going to be still some more stuff coming now, and co-op will be returning as well. So you're going to see the activity kind of pick up and return back to normal now within this next week, which is going to be exciting. So I'm hoping you guys are ready for that as well. But nonetheless, focusing in on the task at hand, that's what is us looking for a solid, strong run here in our home race weekend, coming off of the momentum of our first points in Formula 1. P9 it was. We scored 2 points, the first points for the team as well, as Williams has not had the greatest start to the season. But now we come through into Saturday afternoon qualifying. The rain was coming down quite heavily, but fortunately it really quickly let up early on in this race, allowing us to be able to go on, or in qualifying, not the race, but it allowed us to hop onto the intermediate compound tires very early on, so we will be making our lap on the inters. So nonetheless, we get out here in Q1, and my lap's coming pretty late in the session because this is just when the rain was at the lightest, so it didn't really make sense to make a lap any earlier in the session here now. So we're gonna get a couple laps in if we need a backup lap, lap 2, and this first lap was a little bit, messy, but the problem was the conditions were improving quite a bit compared to earlier, that everybody's going to be running monumentally faster, and I'm going to be the first one setting a time, so I should go to the top of the board because everybody else's lap was originally, quite a bit slower than what we're going to be able to put up here now, and we're going to come through this final chicane now, and it was okay, got through there, a little bit scrappy again, but we get hard on that throttle and head to the stripe. What is it going to be? Top of the board expected? That's exactly what it is, but we're going to go for another lap to see if we can continue that, but immediately a mistake into turn 1, but we do have enough time to get back around and make an additional lap if we need, so I would hustle it back around while trying to save some battery as well, and actually we're still currently top of the board here now, but then I invalidated my time, and you can see my reaction. Fortunately, our time would stand. We would be P4 and P14 respectively between myself and my teammate of Alex Albon here, putting up a great performance in the wet conditions now. Tsunoda, Butler, but huge surprises. Verstappen, Hamilton, and Alonso all out in Q1. The championship leader of Verstappen. Hamilton, his final season with Mercedes, has not been going quite as he had hoped. As we come through into late now in Q2, it's a one and done attempt because it was raining for the majority of Q2, but right at the end it would dry up, so we would hop onto the soft compound tire now off of the big news of Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso all starting from the back of the grid on Sunday. That's going to make for an interesting Grand Prix as Verstappen's championship lead continues to dwindle as I make a mistake there, missing the apex on the first entrance of that chicane now, but overall it didn't feel like a terrible lap, but I'm curious to see where it actually stacks up here now, as Norris currently only P13. His teammate Oscar Piastri got his first career win last time out. Through the final chicane though, what can we do? Hard on the gas, DRS rear wing open to the line from 15th to 15th. So yeah, not good. Albon makes it through into Q3, while we can't manage much at all. We're about a 10th off of 14th place Nico Hülkenberg, so a bit of a rough effort there in Q2 at home, while Albon steps it up trying to replicate the points that we put up in Monaco. Let's head to the grid on Sunday, some work to do.
Here in Montreal, lights out is quickly approaching on this artificial island originally built for the World Fair in 1967. Now it's used for a World's Fair of a different kind, ever since Formula One first arrived here. We're back in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Gasly, Ackermann, Ocon, Albon, Bottas, Norris, Hülkenberg, Golden Boy, Tsunoda, Butler, Verstappen, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
We're going to be going for a 2-stop strategy here today. We're starting on the mediums. We'll go on to another set of mediums, and we're not going to go to the hards. We're going to go to the softs. So we will be starting on the default strategy, which only shows about 0.2 of a second advantage as we're ready to go racing.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out.
Let's have a good one today, guys. In position to get points here.
Let's be patient today, guys. A lot of laps to go forward.
Thanks for the hard work, team. Let's try and hold on to this position.
As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, and failing that, within the points.
Right, boys, not exactly where we want to be starting there compared to Alex, but long day. Let's just keep our head in the game.
You can get a lot on this opening lap here. Get after it.
So our goal is simple. Listen to Mark. Get after it here on the run towards turn 1. Danny Rick lines up the back of the grid. Not been a great season so far for the comeback guy from Australia, now trying to say, hey, I belong in Formula One. What can he do as he continues his pursuit for maybe a Red Bull ride in the future? It's lights out. The Ferrari front row leads us to green on the run towards turn number 1. We see different tire compounds on the pair of Ferraris. Leclerc to the lead from second on the medium compound tires, still looking for his first win of the season. He has been in position a few times, and something's gone wrong both times. He's really been in position. Signs on the hards. I can see him struggling early on over Perez, George Russell, and how about the Alpine of Pierre Gasly? I'm sure Esteban Ocon would love to be in that position off that news, of course, that he is not returning to Alpine next season. What does the future look like for him? As you can see, the McLaren of Lando Norris just behind myself. I was able to gain a few positions in these opening moments here of this first lap of 35 here from Montreal. So things worked out pretty well for us, and I'll show you guys actually an onboard replay here of how the start went in just a second. But we're actually under pressure right now from Valtteri Bottas here into the hairpin. We're just behind Esteban Ocon. Now we're going to keep it around the outside, and that will allow me to get the power down, more traction, the runoff, the momentum, everything you need to stay ahead right there of the Kick Sauber. Now we'll take a look at that original start for myself. The 5 red lights go out, and we get underway. Hülkenberg on the left side, a little bit slow. Of course, he's on the hards, and then we are right to the back of Lando Norris, but just simply like that, we just cruise our way through, up a couple of of positions right now. Got up the inside here of Esteban Ocon, but unfortunately out of the right-hander. Couldn't quite get the power down like he was capable of there in that Alpine. He would stay ahead, so we would maintain the 12th position. We come through now to the end of lap number 1. It's Charles Leclerc out in front. The Monegasque looks to try and drive away early on and open up a gap, establish a gap here to make sure maybe that nobody else can close in on him over the course of this Grand Prix, and hope that his teammate of Carlos Sainz, who's leaving Ferrari at the season's end, we still don't know his future, he's hoping that Sainz can maybe, just maybe, hold back Sergio Perez and others. George Russell there in that 4th position. Lap 3 at this point, DRS of course enabled, and we're just kind of holding our own right now. Even with the upgrades that we have brought to the car, we still have a pretty poor car when it comes to the R&D, so P12 is a pretty good run right now. Our teammate of Alex Albon runs P9, but Ocon's starting to get a little bit disconnected from Lando Norris in front. Norris had such a frustrating Monaco Grand Prix, was stuck behind me for a majority of it. He was not enjoying his time in Monaco, especially while his teammate of Oscar Piastri picked up his first career win before Lando Norris was able to. Speaking of Oscar Piastri, lap 5, he's lost connection to the Alpine in front. Not a lot of pace in the McLaren today, and meanwhile, Lance Stroll, having a great run at home, is going to go up the inside of the Australian, and he actually runs him off circuit a little bit there, and Stroll is going to go through and take P6. A great run for the Canadian now, as the other Canadian, myself, down here in P12 looking for opportunities. We're up to the back of Ocon now. Up the inside, actually a bit of contact right there. I just didn't expect to have the run that I did into that hairpin, but we take it nonetheless, and we're going to be wheel to wheel down the long straightaway, but now clear of the Frenchman and into P11. Can we run down the cars in front for points? Now we have to make sure we stay ahead of Ocon on the run towards this final chicane, which we will here, and then of course you go through this little run towards that wall of champions right there on the right side that's always ready to kind of pull out and grab you in and then pull you in into the barrier, and of course ruin your whole weekend now. But we would quickly run down these cars in front, mainly because they're just kind of stacked up on each other, but as well I think we're putting up a great pace right now in these around 6-7 lap range of this Canadian Grand Prix. However, Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, they're still way down the order. They have not really gone anywhere. The 16th, 17th, and 19th. Tsunoda in between Alonso and Verstappen. Ricciardo still in last. So they are not making a lot of progress there as we continue on in this 11th position now. Lap 9, a lot of racing to go. 35 laps in this Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly still P5. He's just in front of Lance Stroll. An overtaking opportunity right there. We catch Norris off guard. He had a bit of a weird exit there out of that second turn, and that was perfect for us. Now into the points for both Williams cars. This is not something we've seen this season. Now here goes Lewis Hamilton on lap 9. He's starting to finally go forward. He's of course ahead of Verstappen, and now he's going to pass Devin Butler of course for the 15th position, but it wasn't over. A little bit later in the lap, Hamilton on the run towards the hairpin is going to go for a 2-for-1 special. Hulkenberg shows a nose on Bottas, who goes defensive. Hamilton to go around both of them. What a drive here from the 7-time world champion into P13, while Verstappen still down in 17th. Alonso P18. He as well has gotten past Tsunoda as the two V-Carbs continue to struggle heavily, as I take a warning for exceeding track limits on lap 10. Now right to the back of our teammate of Alex Albon, as our pace is just tremendous here as we close in towards the first set of pit stops. It is important to remember, like I said, two-stop race. We see those quite often here in this opening season of F1 career mode now, as we have a few car lengths between myself and the Williams, but look at that. Just on the braking, we're really able to reel in our teammate, but Lando Norris just behind. Now, there was points where the gap would open up, and you can see that right here, and suddenly I was really starting to struggle and actually clipped the wall, and now here comes Lando Norris back at me. So Norris retakes the position. We drop back down to P11, starting this 11th lap now, as a bit of contact on the back of Norris, who had a bit of a run wide, missed the apex after what was a potential lockup right there. So now we're just following him, and I'm really struggling suddenly here now. We had that moment in the final turn, and then as we come to the end of lap 11, you're going to start to see some drivers pitting. It's Pierre Gasly in from the soft compound tire, but surprisingly Max Verstappen, maybe who's got nothing to lose, is going to pit from the hard. So Verstappen, a bold call there for him and Red Bull, as they have made no progress so far from towards the back of the grid. They're trying something. shifting. They're going to go from the hards to the mediums, and they're going to try and put that car to work here. Now, as at the end of lap 12, we come into the pits ourselves. So a lap after that Red Bull of Verstappen, the soft compound tire, and the Alpine of Gasly, as well as one of the Kick Saubers come into the pits, including now us a lap later. Like I said, we'll be getting the old mediums off, and then we'll be putting a brand new set of mediums on, and we actually come out in front of Lando Norris. I'm sure Norris is getting a bit tired of looking at the back of a Williams rear wing over the course of the last couple of episodes. Now, as we go down through turn 1, we'll come out just in front of Bottas and others. Now, Norris comes out behind Valtteri, so that helps me a little bit. So I thought, but that really wouldn't be the case. I was struggling to get up to speed and actually clip the barrier again. Things are looking a little bit rocky here now as we head into the next chicane, and Bottas is really reeling us in that Kick Sauber. He already pitted, of course, a lap ago, and now he's up to the back of us with the DRS. Here he goes, looking for a move. We're going to get split 3 wide. Norris up the inside. We back out of it, just trying to keep our car in one piece. Bottas through to 12th, Norris 13th, myself 14th, but here's Verstappen and Hamilton. They've made huge gains over the pit stop cycle. Now, Lando Norris, smoke pouring out of the back of his McLaren into the hairpin. We've got nowhere to go, only forced to ride behind him. He's going to pull over to the side of the road. Verstappen goes through, Hamilton just behind. Norris out of the Canadian Grand Prix as we continue on and continue to struggle on this medium compound tire. Now, Hamilton going for the overtake. We are continuing to just tumble down the order. I really don't even know where we're going to cycle out at this point now, as there's Albon and Casper Ackerman cycling out of the pit lane. Now Albon through into P12. George Russell is the only driver at this point who has not pitted. He has stayed out on his hards. It looks like he's trying a one-stop strategy out in front right now, and another position loss. We're going to go down to P15. Alonso only about a second back, but as this race goes on, both the Williams cars are continuing to go down the order. Myself and Albon at one point were briefly both inside the points. Now we're 12th and 15th, with Alonso trying to put me down to P16 here over the course of the next handful of laps as we come through to lap 15 at this point, now lap 16, and we've kind of got a bit of a train going. We've got a mix of really quick cars with the Red Bull, the Mercedes, the Aston Martin coming behind us, but then we've got some slower cars, of course, the Williams, the Kick Sauber, the Haas cars. So it's a really interesting dynamic now, as Valtteri Bottas was kind of tumbling down the order a little bit. He was really falling off as his laps were going on, and Alonso is about to have an opportunity, I think, to make a move. No, he's going to stay put behind us now as we break deep into the hairpin and get right back up to the back of the German of Nico Hülkenberg here, but we will lose that gap as we come through this final chicane, and this could be Alonso's opportunity. Here he comes with the speed. There's no point in even fighting it. I don't have much battery. A way faster car. Just take the position. Esteban Ocon as well came into the pits, but Charles Leclerc had run down George Russell for the lead. Leclerc through into P1, nearly goes wide. Perez has actually joined the party. He was able to get past Carlos Sainz, and then he would pass George Russell, and that's going to put him in the fight. So many drivers having issues with Hamilton and Verstappen, at least, that Perez really has an opportunity to maybe win this Grand Prix here today. Now, Russell comes into the pits finally on lap 18, coming to 19. So Russell is on a one-stop strategy. He has already come out in front of us here, so we maintain the 15th spot right on the back of Hülkenberg, still kind of in this big train of cars here now. How about Albon actually going for a move on Verstappen on lap 19? Now, this was actually because Verstappen is having an issue. Now, Hamilton, 3 wide up the inside. Where did he come from? Hamilton lunged it up the inside. Verstappen having a mechanical issue and now struggling to maintain position.
What a disaster this is, guys. I mean, what even is this?
Verstappen not thrilled with the situation they find themselves in. Hamilton shows a nose on Albon. Not going to happen. He clears Verstappen at least now, but he's going to probably make some pretty quick work on the Williams here before long. Now, as you can see, actually Hamilton's still behind Albon because we're at the very back of this train right now that Hamilton's trying to get through on, but at a bit of a moment there, and that puts Devin Butler closer to me now as we head to the second chicane here now. As they're continuing to fight, Hamilton's alongside Albon and is stacking up everybody. Verstappen back into the mix. Bottas, Alonso, myself, Butler. We're all right here. Where's Butler going to go? He's going to go up the inside and now make a move on me and Alonso here. So we kind of got caught off guard right there as we are going to wait for this to settle out. Butler on the right will follow Alonso, get the ERS going, and we get back clear of Rookie of the Year contender against us. Meanwhile, Leclerc is under pressure from Perez now for the lead of this Grand Prix. Leclerc misses the final chicane. He comes back on track. He makes contact with both Perez and Carlos Sainz. Somehow all parties avoid damage, and Sergio Perez goes through to the lead. Has Charles Leclerc thrown again in the late laps of this race, 15 laps to go, and he's once again put himself in position from going for a win to now on the hunt to go back forwards here now, as we can start to see, at least in our vicinity, things are starting to separate a little bit here. But here's now Carlos Sainz going for a pass a few moments later now after that mess in that final chicane. So Sainz going to go through into second place and be the one that's going to try and run down Perez, if that's Leclerc being willing to give it up, and he doesn't look like he wants to give it up, but he's forced to give it up. Sainz muscles his way through, the Spaniard now into second place as Alonso goes through on Valtteri Bottas, who was really struggling on this medium compound tire late in this, what will be the final run before we make our final pit stop now for everybody as well, except George Russell. I think is the only one that's not going to pit. Bottas pits at the end of the lap. I couldn't quite find a way around him, but fortunately he made it easy for me. Others pitting as well. Casper Ackerman having a bit of a quiet but very solid day. Our pit window opens now. Some drivers are going to be going on to the hards. We're going to be going on to the softs. So we ride around for the rest of the lap, get into the pits. It's going to be 11 laps to go, so we'll be given, 10 full laps, and then of course this warm-up lap here, which would be that 11th lap to try and figure things out on this soft compound tire. 10 laps feels like a bit of time, but I think we've still got a car capable of running really well here. So we'll exit the pit lane, and it's all going to come down to where we shuffle out. It's going to be close with Valtteri Bottas. We're going to be just ahead of him, similar to when we pitted earlier, but now he is on the hards compared as well to myself on the softs. Hulkenberg in front of us on the mediums, Hamilton on the softs, Butler as well there, P17 currently on the hard compound tire as well. But Valtteri Bottas looking to make quick work as I'm still trying to get my softs up to temperature. Really couldn't do a whole lot there. He moves through into P15 now, so down to P16 for us. George Russell out in front now as he's trying to win this race on a one-stop strategy. Butler lunges one up the left side. I go back up the inside. We run him a little bit wide even. Not a lot of room left there, and we stay ahead now as we come to 10 to go. Let's go through the grid.
George Russell playing the long game here on the one-stop strategy, trying to hold on over Red Bull and Ferrari. Once again, he is pouncing on the misfortune of other front runners in the field.
Perez is going to surely run him down before it's over, but the question is if Russell's hard tyres can have the benefit at the end of this race. Sainz is also closing in on Leclerc, a good shot to get third here.
Verstappen has rebounded to 10th as he now has entered the points. He continues to grind his way forward to salvage a rough day.
How about Lance Stroll? He's quietly been having a great day up in the 6th position. Great home race for the Canadian.
The other Canadian of Owen down in 15th. He spent some laps in the top 10 but has been falling down the order as this race has gone on. Still an improvement for
What
Williams.
a race it has been here in Canada. The two V-carbs at the back, unfortunately now. Yellow's on the run towards turn 1. It's George Russell. Russell with less than 10 to go from the lead blows an engine. Perez through to the lead.
What a f***ing disgrace, guys.
Russell out. Sainz, Leclerc battling again. Sainz on the sauce, should be able to run away from Charles Leclerc, but can he run down Sergio Perez, who's 4 seconds up the road? Meanwhile, I'm going back at Valtteri Bottas now. I've got my softs up to temperature. We've got them in a comfortable operating window. Let's try and make some moves now, side by side on the run towards the chicane. Who's going to come out on top of this little battle? It should be myself, because I'm just simply not going to back out, and we get the job done, even scraping the barrier. We have been a little bit too comfortable with barriers here today, but nonetheless, in through to the 13th position. That's our official position right now. Alex Albon P12, so it's unfortunate that we both kind of fallen as this race has gone on, but now 4.7 seconds. That's really our only objective, is to try and run down our teammate of Alex Albon, who's about 4.5, a little bit more up the road right now. And as well, Alonso, though, unfortunately for me, is on the softs, and he is working his way back forward. Been a pretty poor day for Alonso, of course, now, but I think he's going to be able to pass us, and then the goal from that point on is if he passes me, then then we can try to follow him up towards Alex Albon, and on the run towards his final chicane, getting through there relatively well, but Alonso's right there on us, and unfortunately I only have 12% battery, so even if I tried to defend, I wouldn't have much. So Alonso goes through. We go down to P14. Now let's try and follow him up forwards. We got 6 laps of racing to go. Is that going to be enough time to gain nearly 5 seconds on Alex Albon? Well, he suddenly became the one that we weren't focused on. Esteban Ocon on the hards. He's put a lot of laps on those hards. He was very quickly falling backwards now, 2.2 seconds up the road. So P13 is definitely on the deck of cards here now in our hand, as now we come to lap 32. Ocon's right there in P12. If Alonso gets battling with the Alpine and former teammate of Esteban Ocon, we might have an opportunity to get 2 extra positions out of this and go for P12 here now before this race is over now, as Alonso and myself, we're really going to have to wait for the majority of this lap here behind the Frenchman and wait for that DRS straightaway now, I would expect here, as this first DRS straightaway never really a great opportunity to do anything, to be honest, unless you have an overwhelming advantage, which we don't. Here we go, coming to 3 to go. Alonso showing the nose on Esteban Ocon, a very poor entrance for both drivers, especially Alonso. Here we go, this is the opportunity we needed. Rear wing open, Ocon drives away in the distance now, trying to run for his life. Myself and Alonso side by side into turn 1. We get the job done. We take the P13, and now we are all over the back of Esteban Ocon up in front of us. Albon, he's gotten through on Hulkenberg to go into the points in P10. Hulkenberg struggling as well, but I don't know if we have enough time to get to the Haas. And here we go with the DRS. We will be able to pass Esteban Ocon, moving us through into P12. Ocon's going to show the nose again on the run towards the final chicane. Not going to be enough now, coming to 2 laps to go. We got 3 seconds to Hulkenberg. Can we get there? I don't think it's going to happen. The gap really wouldn't change over the course of this lap. I felt like my softs were starting to fade now already. Coming to the final lap, which is now underway, and it's Sergio Perez out in front. This is going to be his 2nd win of the season if he can hang on, and really didn't see this one coming. I think, of course, he had a lot of assistance in this one with the issues for Verstappen, Hamilton. It really didn't feel like a natural Grand Prix. A lot of chaos as well. Maybe the most chaotic from start to finish Grand Prix we've had so far in our rookie campaign here in Formula 1. But it's all Sergio Perez here in these closing moments of this Grand Prix, trying to keep his championship hopes alive early on in the season. Out of the final turn, Sergio Perez is going to come through and pick up the victory over Carlos Sainz, who will have to settle for 2nd place. Another great effort from the Spaniard in the Ferrari. Leclerc going to maintain P3, both Ferraris on the podium. Another rough day for Verstappen, but he's at least going to get points out of it, and another point for Williams. Now Albon crosses the stripe for P10. We cross for P12. Could have been worse, could have been better. I felt like at the end of the day, though, we got the most out of it. Not exactly what we were looking for, guys, but thank you for the hard work this weekend. Congratulations as well to Alex on the point.
Thanks for the hard work today, Gary. It wasn't easy, but you held on.
A truly magnificent drive and a great performance from the entire team to secure victory here in Canada.
And there we have it. Sergio Perez is going to get to celebrate win 2 of the season. Really didn't see that one coming, and it still keeps the championship very interesting as Verstappen, it's like his, consistent winning days have already come to an end early on in the season after, a great start to the season, of course, but, things have been getting really interesting for him and others. I mean, George Russell, with the issue there, he's been one that's really been capitalizing on issues lately, and he was doing the exact same thing today. But unfortunately, he has an issue of his own. Lando Norris, a big name that's looking for some bounce back after a rough Monaco, a failure in today's episode, going to, of course, keep him, out of the points 2 episodes consecutively. So really interesting dynamic here that's happening over the course of these last couple of episodes that's going to shape us up towards that, early mid-season kind of swing that we're getting ready to kind of dive ourselves into. So it's going to be interesting, to say the very least. But we'll take a look at everything here. Albon P10, so Williams gets points 2 Grand Prix in a row. How about Ackerman? Casper Ackerman in P6. P7 for Pierre Gasly as well. And then as well, the 2 V-Carbs end up getting the best over the Saubers as they struggled at the end of that Grand Prix. Verstappen 11 points ahead of Perez. Russell, of course, loses a little bit now, but P16, P17 as the pair of Saubers yet to score points this season. And the Constructors, of course, now 3 points as a team, still behind V-Carb. Red Bull ahead by 48 points and 66 over Ferrari and Mercedes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day.